From the Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker, we're speaking to freedom-loving patriots from all around the country and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
Yes, it is John Crump Live, and I have been marked safe from being an Indian, whatever, the violent extremist militia guy people. And we are joined today by Flying Rich. Flying Rich, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm marked safe from driving.
And Rich somehow went away. There you go. What happened?
I didn't even touch the keyboard. I'm marked safe from driving for 8 hours on Florida highways.
Okay.
I'm not as safe as the lady that was driving alone wearing a mask.
No, that's always, you know what? I don't really care. If you want to wear a mask, it doesn't bother me. I don't care either way.
We know who you're voting for. Thank you for letting us know.
No, it's just I don't care, man. I don't care if you wear a mask. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Both sides are like at each other's throats about the whole mask thing, and it's like, who the F cares? Does it bother you? Either way, I don't
being
care.
Able to walk into a Walmart in a mask, buy a burner phone in cash, and nobody has any clue who bought that phone. I guess I could still do it because enough people still wear masks. But in Florida, it's pretty rare.
It's rare everywhere, man.
California. I've been on a few flights these days where
I wish I wore a mask in Vegas. I'll tell you that right now.
Vegas.
Yeah,
John, just because you got bad air at the oxygen bar doesn't mean Vegas is bad.
dude, I was deathly ill. Deathly ill.
That's because the cannula they gave you was just they shot Febreze at it and handed it to you.
The fuck is this?
What were you doing in Vegas?
Shot show.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I forget that exists sometimes.
So did we introduce Krrawn? Did we explain to our guests?
No, I don't know who Krrawn is, but let's go ahead and introduce him anyway.
So Krrawn not only is a 3D CAD Chad, but also a tech dude, and he's very familiar with war driving devices and other thingy bits like that.
That's fair. Yeah, so I guess most people that know me for the GunCAD stuff, 3D printing firearms, DIY firearms, all that good stuff. But my day job is information security or cyber security now. That it's a whole category unto itself. And yeah, I've been doing some more of that lately, trying to showcase some more of that on the feeds, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Because as the Ukrainians are finding out, that can be more important than a gun in some cases, right? We've all seen these live feeds of drones and lack of communication devices and all of that fun stuff. So we've basically been playing with anything that the Ukrainians wish they had day one, we should probably have now. Is that a Heltec?
Yeah, Heltec V3.
I have a couple of them. I just finished another 2.
I have this.
So,
I'm not going to show it too much because I don't want to share my information.
Bag
You know what this is? It's a nerd miner.
I'm trying to see it through your fingers, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's a nerd miner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen a couple of those. Is it any good?
It's like playing the lottery.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. That's more or less what I've been hearing.
But it only takes under $2 of power a year to run, so who cares?
Yeah, I think those are all based on Pi boards now. So
they're actually based on the same stuff as they're actually Heltec boards and stuff like that.
The ESP32?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are so I have one here.
Eagle Run is Laura Curious, it seems like.
Everybody's Laura Curious these days. So Laura is I guess we'll start with the basics. In the US anyway, in North America, it runs on a 915 bandwidth range. Whatever.
915
megahertz, yeah, frequency. I kind of just want to jump straight into Meshtastic because it's way easier. A lot of people that have been into LoRa for a long time are doing other things, but Meshtastic is very basic and very simple to get going. So you can go get one of those Heltec boards on Amazon for like $20 and flash it.
Like 2 for $50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like $20-25. You can, if you want to wait and you don't mind waiting for the slow boat from China, you can get them even cheaper. Yeah, so ultimately, Rich's should look something more like this.
Actually, I'm going to do a minimalist frame for this because this is what rides on my drone.
Oh, okay. So that's your drone receiver. So yeah, I have one here for my drone too. We'll talk about that here in a minute too. But so what these things do with Meshtastic firmware? What?
I built one with the keyboard, so it looks kind of like a BlackBerry.
Yeah, those are sweet. I have a couple of those en route from the slow boat from China. But these are nice for EDC because they're tiny and they have a little 1100 mAh battery in them, and it lasts about 12 hours. So what this lets you do is run full mesh networks completely off grid. So it doesn't require cell phone, it doesn't require Wi-Fi, it doesn't require
no monthly service, nothing.
Yeah, it's all ad hoc mesh networks. And what's really cool is that the Meshtastic software allows you to put in your own encryption keys. Because all LoRa runs on the same frequency in your region, you're technically all using the same frequency. Like for the normal comms operator types, for the ham radio types, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just get on my own channel, keep it private, won't tell anybody which frequency I'm on. Yeah, it doesn't work with these. You have to use the, there's only like 4 that it works on. And 915 is what we use in North America. So the way we distinguish the basically group chats is by encryption. So for what, $100, $200, you can have your whole family on a mesh network. These little guys, I've tested it up to 5 miles.
Oh yeah, yeah,
reliably.
I've gotten 5 miles.
Yeah, I get about 5 miles on these. The one I'm putting on my house has a 15 dBi antenna, and supposedly that's going to be good for like 50 to 80 miles, depending on weather conditions.
Now, is that a ground plane antenna or just like a full wave?
Ground plane. So it's just going to be attached to the roof.
Gotcha.
And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, it looks like a pole. It's just like a, I think, 4-foot pole. And that's going to be attached to the house. And the plan is just to build up those with a couple of friends in the area so that we have a pretty wide network that we can tap into whenever we want to that doesn't require...
So in Palm Beach, there's a guy dropping nodes all up and down I-95.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's going crazy about this stuff. And what I really like about Meshtastic is that there's a plugin for ATAC. So if you haven't played with that yet, that's really cool. And if you don't know what ATAC is, you should definitely go look it up. There's a couple of really good videos on it. But
so, okay, we need to give the elevator pitch on Meshtastic. Cool. What is Meshtastic?
Meshtastic is really a firmware at the end of the day for these boards, for the LoRa boards, that allows you to do all this easily without needing to know much, if anything, about computers.
So what I usually tell everybody, it's an off-grid mesh network, and you connect to this via Bluetooth from a device, typically a phone, and you're not using anything on the phone other than the Bluetooth and the monitor and the keyboard. So when you go into a channel, you can talk by typing a text. So it's like off-grid's SMS, basically.
Essentially, yeah. Off-grid and encrypted SMS.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the other part about being a grid network.
No, you do not need any kind of license.
No.
Yeah.
Good
LoRa
question.
requires no licensing. You don't have to be a ham operator. You don't need a GMRS license. You don't need nothing. You can just buy it off Amazon and use it.
Yeah, you just need to be a thug.
Simple. All you need to do is you buy the stuff, you connect it with the USB cable to your computer, you run the online flasher, and you're basically
it's
done.
literally a web page. Like flashing a device is kind of scary. There's a USB-C port on this. You plug it into your computer. You say, "Hey, this device hanging off my computer, flash it with this firmware," and boom, it's done.
So, and I see somebody yet. I agree that the government would try and restrict this if they could, but 915 is used for so many home appliances and random IoT devices and things like that that it would become almost impossible to require a license for.
IoT stands for Internet of Things. That's like your Ring cameras, your like water heaters, your thermometer, your thermostats,
All the things.
Like whatever.
Anything that requires an internet connection that doesn't work without an internet connection is an IoT device. So
yeah.
So, and on my website, I'm going to be probably selling health tech kits. I don't have one kitted out. I got it all in my cars. So I have 6 of these. One's for the house, one's for the drone, and then 4 for the cars.
Yeah, so that was the cool piece that we were working on is I took a fixed wing pusher drone, which is just well, Rich can probably explain the plane stuff better than I can, but it's a fixed wing. It's not a quad, with multiple rotors. It looks like a traditional aircraft. But we've got that set up with autopilot, so it just loiters.
ArduPilot?
Yeah, ArduPilot, because it's cheapest. Okay. So we got that thing up, just launch it, it just loiters, and it repeats the network out. So if we had, a group of people that were trying to operate in the same area and we didn't have large repeaters or even big antennas on our devices, we could just set this thing up and let it run.
So to completely dox you, Xander, what's your home address? No, like what town are you nearby?
Honest to God, it would take you probably 5 minutes to find my house. If it takes you longer than that, you don't know how to use it.
I'm just asking for, like, what's your distance to, like, Palm Beach, Jupiter Farms?
I don't even know miles-wise. It's a ways, though, because I'm up in the St. Cloud area. So I'm up more closer to Disney. So it's probably, 100 miles?
Yeah, that's about 100.
Yeah, I'm going to put in some links, like, if anyone's interested in. So you can, like, actually...
I guess meshtastic.org is probably the best place to start.
Yeah, and I've been putting up videos and showcasing it on my Instagram too. So if you want to follow along with projects, feel free.
So you literally could
some of the
you could take this and put it on a Mylar helium balloon or 2 Mylar helium balloons and have a node X hundred feet up.
Yeah, so that's one thing that they did. So I think the world record for distance was like almost 500 miles or something like that, and that's what they did. They put it on a weather balloon, and they were able to send and receive from extremely far distances. Because just like any other terrestrial radio, it does work better with line of sight. Luckily, Florida's pretty flat, and 915 does really well with like trees and shrubbery. It doesn't do well with concrete.
It's unbelievable. I know where the node is in my neighborhood, and there is a significant amount of foliage between me and it, which is kind of shocking.
Yeah, it does pretty well with shrubberies.
Yeah, that's what I'm running.
Just
right
a flesh wound?
Yeah, I have a couple of the lily goes. Those are neat because they're standalone. They're just a little bit bigger. This is very tiny.
A little bit bigger, but so, I don't need to connect it to a phone or anything.
An external device. Yeah.
And if you have room in your EDC for like an extra phone-sized device, all for it. But this is easy for me to clip on a keychain and tell my wife to keep in her purse.
Yes, that's So the other cool thing, so S2 Underground has pretty good video on it. I think he has at least 2 videos on Meshtastic.
Yeah, he has one with the ATAC integration that's really good.
The cool thing about looking at the nodes is you can turn on and off location reporting, and the Heltec V3s don't have a GPS, but they can get location from your phone. So you may or may not want to share that. But the cool thing about that is you can see a node's voltage and last time they reported in, and some will actually show how many hops it is. Like here, this is like, hey, this is 1 hop away. It's coming up because it's a mesh node system or a noded. Anyhow, it's a mesh system, so it'll go from one device to another.
Yeah, if anybody wants anything, like I put a bunch of links out there. If you want to get into those are probably the easiest way to get into it. Right there, but yeah, I pasted several different ones out there.
Yeah, we're also operating. We spun up the Syndicate Discord server too for people that are interested. I can probably drop a link for that.
Yeah, drop a link in there. Come on, I'm interested.
Let me get that. Because we have quite the collective of brains in here that are more than happy to. It did not like it. It won't post it.
You put it in the private chat, and I'll get it in there.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we have quite the collective of brain trust in there that is a wide range of gun catters that you all know and love, and then some of my InfoSec buddies and hacker buddies. So we have quite the mix of brains working on different projects in there. One of the things that we really have been trying to hone in on is drone tech. So whether it be communications and recon drones, and or we have one that drops water balloons. I'm sure you all saw the video went viral the other day of the Ukrainian company trying to build a 5-shot drone delivery system. Yes. So there's an open source version of that coming very soon too.
So it's like a revolver, and it will drop ammunition from the drone.
Water balloon.
Now you got it.
Yes.
Water balloon.
Yes. Specifically so 40 millimeter water balloons.
40 millimeter, yeah.
Yeah.
So now you have to have a drone that'll, lift 5 of those items.
That's not too terribly difficult these days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not doing with a DJI Mini 3. That's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. No. But
yeah, what Rich and I were thinking about doing with Mr. Snow actually is do like a special network security hacking.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. It just never happens.
Yeah, because
we're getting all of us in one chat. All right, Eagle Run still doesn't get it. So basically, if there's no internet, if there somebody throws the internet kill switch and throws the cell phone kill switch, there is no way to get a hold of anyone except with the network that I have in Palm Beach. And it's not my network, I didn't build it, but other people, I have 2 telephone poles on my property. I'm going to put a solar powered node, a repeater on at least one of them. And this way I have a more robust network. So I would be able to not only text my wife and actually get her position information, we could run ATAC encrypted, which would allow me to see where she is without disclosing her location. The other thing about something like Meshtastic is because it's a node network, there's multiple devices, it's tough to hone in on one particular device. So my signal, when I go out on the network, goes to a repeater in my neighborhood that goes, to other repeaters. So they talk about in, Ukraine, if you key up a Baofeng, there's going to be HIMARS or something coming in at you. They're going to target you and you're going to be evaporated.
Well, yeah, I mean, this goes back to the 80s, even when, the Russians were invading Afghanistan, right? The big thing for them was burst transmitters so that they weren't so easy to track. LoRa works the same way. It's not like a constant open communication. It works in bursts. So as you send a message, it spits out that packet, and that's it, right? It's not like an open line of communication that is easy to trace back.
Yeah, what they do
Correct.
with when they hunt down people broadcasting pirate radio and stuff is they triangulate the signal by driving around and stuff like that.
Right.
With this, it
And
doesn't do that. It's just.
Can we talk for a minute about how ham operators are like the biggest bootlickers in the world? Like they go out of their way to report people that aren't supposed to be using.
You're going into a controversial area?
Me?
Me?
Not controversial. You shouldn't be reporting people to the government, people. Like that's kind of like 101.
Bootlicker 101.
Bootlicker 101, dude. It drives me crazy because it's a victimless crime for the first part. Like it shouldn't even be a license for that. But second, like you're not a cop. Why are you spending hours of your time trying to track down people that just happen to be using a radio? Like, no.
What I think it is, I think a lot of them are gatekeepers. They're like, oh, I had to go
Yes.
through this, so you have to go
for
through
sure. Still, suck it up. Get over it.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. Until they come for your stuff, and then they're going to cry about it.
Well, yeah.
Just like the drone community was like, oh, yeah, there's no reason why we shouldn't register our drones, blah, blah, blah. Now they're like, well, you all have to have trackers on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Now you all have to have remote ID.
Supposedly. Yeah.
Like,
but again,
they're going to kick that can down.
That's another stupid law. Like it's completely unenforceable, right? It requires local PD to keep up with it, and they don't know what the rules are or care.
I am an FAA instrument rated pilot, 1,000-hour instrument rated pilot. I'm also an FAA rated drone pilot.
And we're realistically still not sure how, but yeah.
And realistically, even my crappy little airplane, if it ran into a drone, would be less of an incident as if I hit a goose. Hitting a goose could be catastrophic. Hitting a drone, not so much.
But let's not test it.
Right.
Where Rich probably already has.
Probably. Probably. But yeah.
In 1947, I was flying my plane and I hit a goose and it took out. I don't know.
Yeah, large birds like hawks. They can be pretty terrifying. Like especially when you have a closing speed of 200 miles an hour. That'll scare the heck out of you.
But seriously, it drives me crazy. You have this community, and a lot of ham radio operators are preppers and like supposedly like-minded people, but they have no problem tracking you down and reporting you to the government. It's like there's a logical disconnect there for me, and it kind of drives me crazy. So
yeah, I've noticed that. I think it's mostly but I wouldn't say bootlickers. I think it's mostly of I went through this, so you have to go through this too.
Yeah,
what do you mean? You got a no-code license?
It's the same people that have "Don't Tread on Me" and like "Come and Take It" and also like "Blue Lives Matter" at the same time on their truck. Like,
yeah,
cognitive dissonance.
I was talking to one of the ham operators, and he's like, I can't believe that they took away the Morse code part of it. When I first got it, you needed to know Morse code. I can't believe. It's like, why?
No.
Can you tell me exactly when you used Morse code as a ham operator?
Or in any profession outside of like maybe some covert ops stuff, maybe occasionally.
In aviation, we actually use Morse code to identify VORs, but the radio in my plane actually does it for me. It'll actually translate the Morse code and display it alphanumeric on the screen.
Yeah, it's the same excuse I have when I tell my students stuff. I'm like, there's an app for that. You don't really need to know how to do subnetting. You can just use the calculator. Like.
Yeah. Can you tell me non-octet bounded subnetting for this net mask? It's like, no. I'll look it up.
I can, but that's not the point. The point is there's an app for that, right? Like,
yeah, I can because when I got all my certifications and stuff, you had to know all that stuff.
Well, back in the day, but there again, I'm not telling people that they have to go and learn it either. Like break the cycle, right?
G-Webs have something. He wants to know ham radio during COVID, and I have an interesting story. I got my kids into like ham radio during the whole COVID era, where we would talk to people in like Okinawa and around the world.
Oh, cool.
So you can actually, with LoRa, getting back to LoRa, you can set up comm relays like internet gateways and connect disparate regions together as well, if you wanted to. So like if Rich and I wanted to talk, we could set up an internet relay, or we could set up a satellite relay with a ground station and transmit and receive that way instead.
All right, so I'm not aware of satellites. How does it work with satellites?
Like anything else, it's a frequency. You just need a powerful transmitter to relay it off of the satellite.
You're not going to do it with like the little LoRa boards.
The rubber ducky?
No. You need like a proper internet or a proper ground station, but you can build one for a couple $100. It's not anything too crazy.
Okay. Wow.
I'll try and find the build documentation for you, but it can be done. It's just not something that I'm particularly focused on because I want to use it locally with like ATAC and, hurricanes, whatever else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But
unfortunately, I've been running my LoRa for a little bit, my little Meshtastic device, and there's not a single person anywhere in my.
You got to hook Dark up.
Well, but see, that's one of the biggest problems we have as a community is everybody's like, "Oh, I'm prepped, I'm ready." You're one person. You might have a household with 5 people. You're still not going to get very far without a community. So I'm building up a community with people that can actually, respond in case of something. So if we have a hurricane, everybody's got the same frequency. Everybody's all synced up, right? So if there is anything, we can all be in communication and we can all respond to it.
Well, we had that with ham, but not with really Meshtastic. That's what I'm trying to get people into.
In the Meshtastic, so the bar is pretty low for entry. It's like $25 for 1 unit, $50 for 2 units.
And that's
I offer dark-free batteries too.
Well, if you tell your friends, hey, go get your ham operator license and then go buy a radio and then spend about 3 hours learning how to use it correctly. And then we got to sync up all of our frequencies and make sure that we have like, a sequence of ones to cycle through. Like, it's a lot of shit. End of the day, right? Meshtastic, you turn it on and it works.
Yeah, I understand that, but for some reason, my people that are willing to go get a ham license, get their ham radio, learn how to use it, they're more inclined to do that than to buy a Meshtastic board, flash it, and be up and running in like 5 minutes.
That's insane.
I've done. I mean, it's a highly edited YouTube short. I threw it in the chat here, where in 60 seconds, I'm flashing a Meshtastic board and showing you how to run it on the application.
Yeah, it's insanely easy.
Yeah, it's just
almost
painfully. I don't know. I don't know why people are so resistant to it. I'm not technical. It's like you don't have to be technical. Well, you have to like build it. It's like not really. You plug it in.
You can buy some
literally. I mean, you can buy pre-built.
Yeah, if you go on Etsy, you can find 50 different people selling completely ready to go. Just turn it on devices. They're already flashed and everything. Like you don't have to do nothing.
Yeah, I'm looking on Amazon. There's boards, Heltec V3 boards with cases. I don't see any with batteries already, but
yeah, I pasted it all over in there. And also, like for mine, I 3D like the one I have, the little BlackBerry looking thing. The case STLs are out there, so print out the case STL, through a battery, tape the battery to the back of it. Good to go.
That works too.
And the batteries are cheap. You can get like 6 for
$20.
Really cheap. I'll put the ones.
I think I got 4 for 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 4 for 10. They were cheap. 1100 mAh, which isn't a whole lot, but it lasts about 12 hours, and it can be recharged with USB-C. So it doesn't get much more convenient than that.
Oh no, it really is stupid easy. And like I said, one of the things I'm like, hey, what can I do to make a profit? I'm like, all right, I'll build little mesh-tastic radios and I'll sell them on my website. It's like firearm adjacent. This way, I don't run afoul with.
And that's the point, right? Getting into like a 5th gen warfare mindset, because a lot of what we're seeing, like if you look at like what Sandworm does and is used for collectively, the Russians do that extremely well. That's something that we've kind of sucked at as a whole, right? But you look at some of these advanced persistent threat groups like Sandworm, and what they'll do is, we'll use Ukraine as an example, right? If the Russians are going to go in and hit a town or hit a specific target, they will have Sandworm go in and break the network ahead of time. They'll go in, they'll turn off the power, they'll turn off the comms, they'll turn off, they will completely devastate it from a cyber perspective ahead of the actual ground assault or any kind of traditional troops moving in, right?
Yeah.
Something that we haven't really gotten good at, but they have gotten very good at.
There is a book called Sandworm, and it's by a guy named Andy Greenberg. I'm gonna post it in there if you want to read about Sandworm. If you want to, it's actually a really good.
And
book.
they're still very much active today, right? Like it's still very prevalent.
Yeah. I mean, this is an old book. I mean, it's been around. Sandworm's been around for I don't know, like 6,
well, the
7
group
years.
itself has been around since when did they invade Georgia? When was that? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
I think that was the first time we saw them on the national stage. But they're essentially just a state-sponsored cyber terrorist group that Russia uses in conjunction with their traditional military forces. But they coordinate it so well that it's really actually very impressive. But the flip side of that, if you look at there again, let's use Ukraine. A lot of, like NATO, the US, we invest a lot of money into encrypted radio communications. We have our own networks, we have our own satellites. We spend a ton of money making sure that our communications are very secure and very segregated from our civilian communications. The Russians, on the other hand, really went heavily into encrypting their phones and securing phones and using cell phone communications for most of their operational needs. So the first thing the Ukrainians started doing was tearing down their own cell phone towers so that the Russians couldn't communicate.
Oh, shoot.
But if you're a civilian caught in the middle of this bullshit, you now have no communications. Yeah.
Yeah. You're out to dry.
That's where your Mesh-tastic comes in. The other really cool thing is, I mentioned earlier, 915 is used for a ton of crap in North America, like a ton. It's also not on the list for any military or law enforcement jamming devices. So if somebody were to roll in and use your standard issue, let's create a blackout device, it's probably not going to include 915. And most of those operators don't know how to do anything that isn't push button. So it also flies under the radar from that perspective.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And now that we've said it, John's going to go tell the NSA and make sure they fix it. No, I'm just kidding.
No. 915 is also used for like 3G GSM, I think.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's right.
Is that even still active? I don't think that's even.
It's not active, but just what it was originally used for.
Oh yeah. But that's not on any of the current jamming.
No, 3G is dead, but that's where it came from.
Yeah.
I'm just giving a little bit of history, man.
No, fair enough. But yeah, looking at what like APT-44 does and uses cyber attacks for, and then looking at all of the technology that the Ukrainians are using to try and fight a war with basically no technology other than all the stuff that we're giving them. Which I guess getting creative, right? Thinking ahead, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure that they wish they had day one that they're just now starting to get in place.
Do you know how the Ukrainians were targeting Russian soldiers?
With drones.
No, with drones, but how they're figuring out where they are to launch like HIMARS at them. If they were monitoring, like
wasn't it with the cell phone signals?
yeah, they were they were monitoring.
Tell me they're
like,
posting on
They were
Facebook.
monitoring social media
and looking at
Yeah. No, these guys were signing on to. No, they were going on like Tinder and stuff, and like yeah. Mm-hmm. Again, that's why
OPSEC?
we spend. Well, that's why we spend so much money securing. Because you look at like smartwatches. I won't wear a smartwatch. You'll never see me wear a smartwatch because it's just basically a data leak waiting to happen. But you'll see these operators out there on the front lines and fobs running smartwatches. And the first rule is you can't judge the guy in the mud pit, right? But the second rule is we control all of the communications, so it's okay for him to do it. But if you're on your own or operating in a smaller cell, you can't do it. Like you're basically just painting a target on your back.
Yeah, and you're right. So we actually did a episode of Uncensored on Rumble where we talked about could you disappear? And you know, the first thing you got to do is you got to smash your phone. You got to throw away your watch. You know, you can't have any of that crap.
Can't drive.
Or just know how to secure it. But you can't really secure smart watches, right? You can secure smartphones. There's a lot of things you can do now to lock those down and make sure that your data is only going where you want it to. It takes a lot of work, but you can do it, right? Watches, you can't. It's very open.
Yeah, there's a couple smartphones that are secure-ish, I should say.
They're as secure as you make them, right? So there's things that you can buy, like graphene. You can get a.
I was going to bring up graphene. I was going to ask you to talk about graphene a little bit if you knew anything about it.
Yeah, so like you can get Graphene OS, and you can load it up onto your Google smartphone, and it is de-Googled, it's de-everything. Like all of the first-party software has been removed from it. There's no Play Store. There's no nothing. It's totally up to you how you want to use it. The problem is that 99% of people are going to go buy this phone, flash it with graphene, or buy it with graphene, and then they're going to go install Facebook, and you've thrown all of that work right out the window because they're immediately collecting all of your data, all your location, all your text messages, your images, everything. Like a lot of these applications have access to basically everything in your phone as soon as you install them and give them permission. So if you are going to do something like that, you need to make sure that you're building up barriers and you're putting things in containers. And graphene does allow you to do that. So if you wanted to create a container and put just your social media applications in there and say, you know, give it either spoofed location data or no location data or whatever, just to make sure the applications run. But again, it requires a lot of knowledge. It requires a lot of you actively keeping up with it, because as soon as you download Play Store or as soon as you download Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or pick a thing, right? As soon as you download any of these applications, they're immediately collecting all of your data. So, yeah. But again, if you wanted to, you could have a secure smartphone. That is a very real thing that could exist. But most people are not dedicated or disciplined enough to keep it secure.
That is true. That is true. You could do like what maybe a friend of mine does and have a second secured smartphone in case he ever has to.
So that's a pretty classic example now. Or you could even do something like the iPhone, but basically it only works off of LoRa and it works off of Wi-Fi. So it doesn't actually tap into the cellular networks, and it's open source hardware, open source firmware. You can kind of just keep it in a plastic bag until you need it, kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Those are pretty sweet. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, those were. Sorry.
All
right, got coughing a little bit.
No, you're good.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to mitigate your risk. You're never what I try to explain to people is you're never going to eliminate your risk totally. There's always going to be a risk there. It's about mitigation.
Wait, are you talking about the IQ Toys Y-Phone, Toy Play cell phone, USB rechargeable?
No.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm getting the website. Right now I can only find the Indiegogo thing, but it's not in Indie anymore. It's actually in, and it doesn't let me post comments in your comments thread for some reason.
Post in the private
I
chat.
know, I'm doing it. It's just annoying. So that's they have a website now. But this is the Y-phone. It's about as close to off the grid as you can get and still have something that looks like a phone.
So it's
the problem is that it does
$187,000?
use grid tech for actual use. What?
I'm teasing.
They're like $100.
$100.
Oh, yeah, they're like $100, $150. If you want to use it for voice communication, you can do that via Wi-Fi. But you can also have the LoRa chip built into it and use it for text communication over the LoRa frequencies, and use it that way, which is pretty wild. So you have both.
Okay, so for $150, you got the Y-phone with LoRa.
Yeah, that sounds right. There again, requires very little technical know-how to make that work. Which is really kind of the key, right? Because when I talk to a lot of the pipe hitters that I know, they're not technical people for the most part. They need point and click devices. And so things like that, or even bringing more open source projects to the forefront that are easy to build and easy to use, is kind of my priority right now.
Yeah. The Wi-Fi, isn't it based on it's a lot of Python, right?
Probably everything's Python these days. But
yeah.
You don't have to know Python to use it. It just works.
No. I'm just saying the back end. You could though modify it to meet your needs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's always an option. It's just that's a lot more technical than most people want to go, right? Like you were saying, you're having trouble convincing people even to flash a LoRa board, and that takes about 5 minutes, and it's through a browser. You don't even have to download anything.
Yeah. There's no goofy setup or anything. It's seriously plug and play.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. Just people have to embrace technology. Like, I'm always experimenting. I know Rich is always experimenting. We have talks about experimenting. Barton Fink's going to go to Jitterbug. He says you can convert a Jitterbug to a Y-phone with LoRa capabilities.
Yeah. But again, the whole idea is to make things as easy to use as possible. I mean, we did that with 3D printed guns. It's about as easy as it possibly could be at this point to manufacture a gun at home. You go out, buy a $100 printer, and you can have a Glock in a couple of days, all in, right? Learning how to use the printer, printing the gun, putting it together, right? It's about as easy as it could possibly be. Now we need to refocus a little bit and make sure that the rest of our technology is up to speed.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of stuff out there that people, it doesn't take a lot of time to learn, but it's very, very useful skills. And people just don't learn it. Like freaking a Flipper Zero is simple to learn.
That's about as easy as it could be, right? That's almost plug and play too. You put the right firmware on it.
Dude, there's nothing to learn.
Well, you just need to learn what button does what, right? You're just because at first the menu items are going to look a little weird. You know, what's sub gigahertz, right? You have to learn what sub gigahertz and what runs on sub gigahertz. But once you know, sub gigahertz, I can open any handicap door now.
Yeah, but what I think the issue is that people are they're scared of venturing into new technology, new things.
I get it, but that's why I'm
They're
trying to make it more
intimidated.
fun. We're trying to bring some light to it. Like, hey, this is easy. This is not like you don't need a computer science degree to operate this stuff.
Yeah, basically it's like running Signal or Telegram on your phone, but the method of transmit is this device.
Right. No middlemen. Well,
No
technically
middlemen.
lots of middlemen, but none of them can actually read or decrypt anything that you're sending. So
No one's stealing all your data.
right, exactly.
Yeah, and I want people out there to embrace this stuff. Just try it out. I mean, it's cheap enough. So even if you decide it's not for you, you're at like $25.
Right.
And maybe you learn a new skill, or you've improved something that's going to help you in the long run, or you're a little bit more prepared, or maybe
it's
just
very much a no harm, no foul kind of thing. Like you're going to spend less on this than you will at McDonald's for a meal for one. Like,
oof, ouch, yes.
I'll take a jab at McDonald's. I don't care.
No, anybody, doesn't matter.
So that's what I kind of want people to do, is to expand their preparedness, because I remember I was talking to Dark and Rich, and we were going over what our EDCs are. It was on Dark's show, and one of my EDCs is my Flipper Zero.
Yeah.
And Dark was like, "You carry a Flipper Zero as your EDC?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Don't you carry lockpicks as your EDC too? Like,
yeah. So it's part of my EDC thing. I carry my Flipper Zero everywhere.
maybe I'm weird. But yeah, that was my whole thing. Like, I used to carry a software-defined radio.
Mm-hmm.
You can do pretty much everything you want to do on a flipper with a cell phone if you have enough adapters and you know how to do it, right? But now we have a flipper and it's just button. This is the same idea with LoRa, right? Encrypted communications, off-grid, push the button.
And Barton Fink says, and if you don't like it, you just throw it on eBay or Marketplace and recoup your money.
Or hit me up. I'll probably buy it off you for whatever you paid. Like, I don't care. I can always use more. I can always use more boards. So, but I think it's on us as technologists to like make it clear that it's easy. Because one of the things that we tend to do is like go really in depth and really nerdy really fast. And we even did that today a little bit too much, right? We started talking about mesh networks and what frequency it runs on. It doesn't matter, y'all. What matters is you can buy it for less than $50, and that's on the high side. Like if you get like a really nice one, really nice antenna.
Yeah,
and
well,
everything. For less
mine
than
is
$40.
mine's about $50, and that has like a built-in screen, keyboard, everything.
Right. Exactly. So you can. That's what I'm trying to get away. Trying to impress upon people is like, this isn't magic. This isn't deep dark information security science stuff. Like, you don't need to be a hacker to use it. This is stuff that honestly you could use with your family like tomorrow if you wanted to, and not spend a lot of money on it.
Well,
because
it's good for situations like if you're hiking off road, if you're anywhere where there's no cell communication.
Right. If you're if you go rock crawling with your buddies and you don't have cell phone communication out there, nice to have, right? Because you can get a few miles off of it. A lot of people I know, a lot of the more tactical people I know are like, oh yeah, I have a Baofeng. Great. Have you ever turned it on? Do you know how to use it? What frequencies are local to your area? What does your PD use? What does your fire department use? Do you have NORA set up? Like just basic stuff. And they haven't touched it because they're like, oh no, I have it. If anything happens, then I'll figure it out. That's not how that works with a lot of technology. Right?
And that's the thing about your kit. Like, I've got a couple of duffel bags, and one's like med and food supplies, other one's just food supplies. But if you don't know what med supplies you have in there and where they are, it's really useless to you. You really need to have a good mental inventory of these items. You got to have a good working knowledge. Same thing, Baofeng, whatever it may be.
Right.
And Dan Bongino's like, you need this, 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 and one of these is off-grid comms. And I'm like, all right, Terry, here's your, unit. I'll show you how to use it. She's like, yeah, not now.
It's like,
that's it.
You know how to program it with chirp. People are like, what's chirp?
But see, that's exactly. But that's that's my wife. That's my in-laws, right? Like I gave them all Baofangs. I'm like, in case of an emergency, just turn it on. It's already set to the frequency that I want it on. We're allowed to use them in a state of emergency. You don't have to have a license or any of that bullshit. It's all good, right? And they still won't learn how to use it. When I showed my wife this, I'm like, you hit this button and it turns on and your phone's paired and it just will get messages. She's like, oh, okay, perfect. So she carries it with her everywhere now because it's just that easy to use, right?
Yep. Yeah, lower bar to entry.
Very much so. And my wife is not stupid. She's very intelligent. She just has no interest, right? So if you start working with people that have no real, and frankly, everybody should have an interest, right? But that's just not high on her list of things to learn right now is how to be a ham operator. So handing her one of these and saying, if you turn it on, your phone will start getting messages, that makes sense, and she's good with that.
Yeah. US as much does not require learning a new hobby. It's easier than setting up your Wi-Fi router. Do it one, and then you just use it. Do it once and just use it.
Just use it. Probably gonna get in trouble for that one.
Yeah, it's fairly simple.
Yeah, it's about as simple as you can get. So for off-grid communications, I think it is probably the lowest bar to entry that you
Dude, we got to set up this podcast between all of us.
We should.
I didn't notice Mr. Snow, the other guy we always have this conversation with. He's also in the.
Yeah, he's in the syndicate. He's part of our deep dark webs chat, which is a joke because the dark web is a joke.
Yeah, so
but,
we had to step.
Probably have a couple of other guys that are really hardcore into this stuff that would be more than happy to jump on too.
Yeah, do like a panel, like an intro. Like I want to keep it basic though.
Well, that's my favorite. Like I don't want to go deep dark into like how all this works, right? I want to like showcase easy to use examples of technology. This is the stuff y'all should be focusing on, and just get the community like level set on some basic 5th gen warfare stuff, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I definitely want to do. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think we're saying the same thing. I just
Rich,
get excited about talk too much. Rich, do a thing.
Do a thing.
Yeah, it's all on you now.
Dude, you're.
I gotta find out when Mr. Snow's available.
You've been voluntold. Heck, Snow and I can even like meet up and do it in person on our side and collective, bring all of our crap together.
That's cool.
Well, he's not far from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta I don't think I've. Wait. No, I have met you Florida men in Florida once.
Yes. That's
Yeah, we should do like a Barton Fink says we should do like a little mini series.
That'd be fun.
Do like a 12 or 10 episode mini series on. It doesn't have to be on uncensored. It would.
But let's just do skid tools, like the easiest to use stuff, right? That anybody can pick up and use. Like just start there.
Exactly. Well, let's do it.
Like the hacker in me absolutely hates that idea, but the enthusiast in me wants more people to do it, right? Like this is like the 3D printers all over again. Like the printer FUD in me wants to be like, no, you got to know how to build a printer to use a printer. And then the other part of me is like, no, go buy an X1 and you plug it in and it works and you can have a gun tomorrow. It's the dichotomy of my brain. Like, I want you to know how to tune a printer, but
the way I look at it is use it as like a gateway drug. But maybe if they get into it and they start using this stuff, they'll start learning about it. And then they'll learn more and more.
Exactly.
So I'll say, hey, this is easy, get into it. Then once you start running that, then you start doing other stuff. Like virtualization, right? Server virtualization.
Yeah, that's a tough one to explain. Just the concept most people don't understand.
No, but if you give someone Casa OS,
okay,
it's one-click deployment stuff, right?
And then like, oh, I want to do this too. Well, it's not in Casa OS. There's hundreds and hundreds of things you can do in Casa OS, but not everything. So if you want to do there, maybe you're going to have to learn how to install that service or that server on a Linux distribution or something, you know? Or you learn how to use Docker or stuff like that. But the gateway drug would be Casa OS because it's a single click deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And we like easy.
And then once you get done with easy, you want to do something a little bit more difficult. You have that basis and you have that understanding of how that 1,000-foot view of how that kind of works.
Right. I like it. I mean,
so you bring it in slowly.
Sorry, the guys were bugging me. We have a new bufferless AR design coming out, which will be pretty sweet. It's just like 4 of us working on it right now.
Not magnetically delayed?
No magnets involved, but it'll be 556 and 300 blackout right now is what we're testing with. But bufferless, the receivers and handguard and all that are printed with some, reinforcements.
Magnets. How does that work? Science doesn't know. You know
Yeah.
that from like
What? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
magnets. How do those work? The Insane Cloud Posse did a whole song about magnets and how no one knows how magnets work.
Magic.
And everyone's like, no, we kind of know exactly how they work.
No, everybody knows how that works. Yeah.
It's not mystery. It's not like something we don't. I don't know.
That's
The
funny.
search is ICP magnets, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, and they somebody brought in ICP and Neil deGrasse Tyson to have Neil deGrasse Tyson explain to him how magnets work.
He's the new Bill Nye as far as I'm concerned, but it's funny to watch.
But it's still funny watching him trying to explain to Insane Clown Posse how magnets work.
That's fair. That's probably really, really comical, actually.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But yeah,
So, Sandra, are you building an M1337?
NPR Tech's coming out with the Dissident. So no, I don't have that kind of money.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I now have all the parts.
Yeah, I mean, that thing's wild. So for those of you following along at home, that's a multi-barrel crank-fired 5.56 belt-fed that is cool, but it's like easily $1,500 in parts by the time you even start. So there's a lot of things I'd rather spend $1,500 on.
Yep.
There's a lot of small part printing.
Yeah, a lot of parts.
Yeah, that's a lot of parts, and yeah, there's some complexity there. I don't know if my ADHD has that would be a hyperfixation project that I would need to be completely honed in on to complete, and it hasn't grabbed me yet. So
Yeah, my ADHD, my autism will be fighting each other on that.
exactly.
But that's going to be pretty cool. Rich picked up the final parts today, I believe.
Yeah, I know.
That's correct.
I'm excited to see yours. I really want to see an SOT version with a motor. That's really what I want to see.
That's in the works. That's not like stage 1. Stage 1 is just getting it running. Then we'll do the SOT.
Wrong answer.
Somebody put out that there's a suppressor, printable suppressors.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, those have been around. We've had, yeah. And now with the wait times, which I'm an idiot, I did everything through a trust, so I have to wait like 4 months. But with everybody else doing personal transfers, I'm seeing them come back like same day. So
yeah, they're coming back same day, but they're about to fix the trust part too.
Oh,
fantastic. If you buy it through certain places like Silencer Central, Silencer Shop.
I got it through Silencer Shop, but I'm using a traditional NFA trust. So
yeah, well, if you're not doing a traditional NFA trust, what they're going to do is they're going to build it for like generic Silencer Central, Silencer Shop trust that they sell, because everything's the same, so they're not going to have to review everything.
But if you review it once and the document doesn't change, shouldn't it speed up the next time?
Well, if
Or am I using too much logic for a completely defunct government agency?
Yeah, well, like let's say you submit something on a trust and you submit the same trust, right? Their reasoning is we can't be 100% sure that this person didn't change something in there.
Well, you can because it's coming from a single source, right? So if I upload my trust to Silencer Shop, it's flagged, it's got metadata, it's hashed. Like, it's very easy to verify if that document's changed.
I know, I know what you're saying, but we're not talking about you or me.
Stupid.
But if Silencer Shop, they have their generic one, all they had to do is just review the information that's.
But aren't those single shots? So it's a trust per fire or trust per transfer?
It is a trust per transfer, but the single shot thing is all the information in the trust is generic besides,
But you can't add people to those later, right?
Yeah, you can't add people, but in those trusts, the person's name is different. The make, model, serial number, and basically everything else is general. So basically what they're saying is that if it's going to tag like those trusts as, as A-OK. So instead of having to review the whole trust, like if you submitted something on a trust, they have to review the whole trust. All they're going to have to do is look at the information that changes instead of the rest of it.
So won't mine speed up too, just because they're not looking at all these other ones?
Yeah, it will, but that is more of a byproduct than
intentional.
Intentional.
So instead of being 5 months, I'll be down to like 3 months.
Correct.
I can live with that just for the benefit of being able to like leave it to my kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming the federal government's around by the time I kick the bucket,
I don't know, what type of American are you? Still got to see that movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
Which one? Which one?
Civil War.
Oh no, my second kid was born around the same time that came out, so until it hits digital, I'm not going to see it.
Well, it's on digital now, just not legally on digital.
I haven't even seen it that way yet.
Oh, it's out there. I would assume it's
allegedly.
Out there. Allegedly. I would just assume that it would be.
Allegedly, my system that supposedly does all this automatically has not allegedly found it yet. So I guess I could go.
I don't have any indexers running in Jacket pulling down to radar.
Yeah, mine. Of course, that could just be a settings thing. Because I think I don't have it pulling until it says that it's actually out. Because, some of those early things are kind of garbage, allegedly.
Yeah. I won't watch the early ones just because.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I got tired of allegedly seeing the cam rips,
Yeah, honestly, I won't. I won't watch those because they're just terrible.
Yeah, it's just not even worth it, right? Like,
no, definitely not. Definitely not. But
anyway, coming soon to a Docker conversation near you.
Yeah, but it's definitely out there.
I'll check the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, we've been on for over an hour, and I got to go make tacos.
Oh yeah, we have
a meeting tonight at 7:30. So.
Yeah, I should probably go make dinner. But let's put that thing together. For those of you that care and want to learn more, in the meantime, come join the Syndicate server. We have lots of brain power collectively if you run into any issues. Or follow me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm going to be posting more of this stuff as we dig into it. So
I'm going to paste that one more time for everyone. So everyone join me. We have firearms, we have training and everything else, but a lot of times this stuff gets overlooked.
Exactly.
And you don't want to overlook stuff. But other than that, that's it for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.